Hey, good morning, everyone. Myself Abhijit Dey. I'm from India, and I currently work as a vice president digital banking in Axis Bank India. In my current role, I'm heading the entire API banking product for my bank. And previously, I was with some other banks in India, and mostly my career, I worked around APIs only, right? And what I do believe APIs these days are as we all say that data is the new fuel. In that scenario, APIs will be the pipeline for transmitting those fuel, right? And uh, in some article I have written a few days ago that in the new age digital economy, API is the actual currency, right? Because the number of APIs you are having, the number of use cases you are having around those APIs are the main mode for your business, right? If you see in last 3 4 years, especially post COVID, uh, there are many digital transformation, digitization happened around the world. There are lots many new startups, fintechs came up in the industry, and all are actually talking about APIs, right? And with this new Gen AI thing now, all those Gen AI chats and all are also being impacted by this API business, right? So today we'll speak about API productization. And before that, I would like to thank the entire API Days community for giving me this opportunity. And next week, I'll be in Singapore to present this entire presentation before a very lovely crowd. But prior to that, this online session where I'll be sharing a couple of my insights that what I'm gonna present in API Day Singapore next week. Having said that, the topic I'll be covering is API productization, shift right to better product resilience. See, we all talk about APIs as an endpoint or URL, right? I mean, few years ago when I was working as a API coder, I used to write APIs, and the end result was the endpoint, right? But now, for last couple of years, what we have seen, API itself has become a product, right? Like any other product, it also has all those different cycles of product life cycles. It has maturity, decline, and all. And in next few minutes we'll be talking about this, and also we'll talk about how API product management has changed the life of the product managers, how the new nuances of product management has came up because of this API productization. So the topic or the subtopics which we'll cover is that API productization, what makes API a product. Then we'll cover API product manager, their roles and responsibilities. API product manager, it's a unconventional PM, right? This is a very interesting topic, and it's a very a topic which is very close to my heart because when I joined one of the large fintech in India a few years ago, that time we are mostly talking about APIification of the microservices and all, right? But later on, when and I actually joined there as a product manager, right? And I was supposed to build some, cloud-based ERPs for financial institutions. And when we are building the features and all, we saw that there are a lot many APIs are coming, and those APIs are turning into a full life cycle product. And from there, this thought came, right? And the last one is the developer portal, packaging and distribution point for API product. This last topic is also very close to my heart because in last 3 years there are a lot many things we have done in my current organization based on this developer portal, right? So having said that, let's start with the topic API productization. What makes API a product, right? Now, like every product, there are five life cycle stages. The first one is the ideation, the second one is a construct, the third one is a growth, fourth is maturity, and the last one is retirement, right? And all these five sub stages constitutes of a complete product. Let's see how, in case of API, these stages are pertaining and how it is relevant for APIs, right? So we'll start with the ideation. In ideation stage, normally, as we all know, any product, it starts with a problem statement. Until unless you don't have a problem statement, uh, excuse me, until unless you have a problem statement defined or identified, you cannot uh, build a product, because you will have a problem statement, then subsequently you will find a solution to it, you will have a vision to solutionize the problem statement, and on top of that there are a lot many other stages, and it will be become a complete product, right? So every new product, it begins with a problem statement, as we already talk about. So this I mean identify problem is one sub stage of the ideation layer. Then definitely if there is a problem statement, then you will have to find a discovery, right, of solution. You will have to solutionize it, right? In every large organization there are multiple APIs. There are I have seen in organizations there are around more than 10,000 APIs people have built over the year. And whenever a new problem is being identified, the first thing product managers do is that to check their catalog, match the problem statement with the API mapping and all, and figure out that with which particular API will work, or which particular API will partly work, and how much delta work you need to do to customize that API. So this one ideation stage where product managers are very deeply involved. Here we identify which particular API will help, right? Now the third one is the validating your solution. Definitely, I mean, if you have identified a problem and if you are sure about the solution of that particular problem, there should be some layer through which you will be validating the solution, right? You have to replicate that entire solution in a sandbox or some catalog environment where you will be finalizing the solution, right? And the last one is the define. That it's very important that what problem we are solving, who are we solving it for, the set of customer or the target audience for that particular problem statement and the solution. And the third one is that why now is the right time to build this, right? It's very important. And it's not only for any API product, overall in any product management, if we are building something, uh, whether that buildup is contextual to the current time or not, right? And we have seen many times when we build something, and once the delivery has reached, by the time maybe some other problem statement has surpassed the previous one. So this one last question is very important, and in case of API also, because in API there are a lot many versions, and replications are very important here, right? And there is an analogy that it's a discovery stage where evaluation of each market needs or identify the use cases that happen here, right? Solutioning problem statement with correct API and mapping of available and to be built API done at this stage, right? So it's a nutshell. I mean, we covered this particular addition stage. Moving on to the next one, which is construct stage, where we identify the product feature, right? So we have identified the problem solution, we have already validated it. Now we need to see which all product feature will be adding in this particular to be built product, right? Then we move on to the user stories. We need to create ungroomed stories. Normally, we product managers, we create these ungroomed user stories around the APIs, which all changes we'll be making, and then we groom it via multiple feedback loops. We then identify the stakeholders. Now, identifying stakeholders is a thing which in every product management is required, right? If you are building something, in my previous slide, we already covered that uh, for whom we are solving it for, who are our target audience. So now that those target audience or those TAM are related to many other stakeholders in your organization. In talking about the bank, in banking, if I'm building some new API for my retail asset, definitely I need retail asset product managers along with me, right? I also need my tech. I also need my solutioning group who will be testing it, right? So you need to identify those stakeholders, right? Then you need to create the cohorts. I mean, normally we all are working in agile mode, right? People, we are very proudly say that we are working in agile methodology, we don't work in a waterfall. So in case of agile, we need to identify the cohorts, right? We need to identify the pods. Also, we need to have a revenue streams, we need to have a use case, and we need to have a product market fit. So whenever you are building something, it should be built for some revenue, right? So there is no free lunch in this world, and at the same time, nothing which is having no revenue. It doesn't make any sense, right? So, uh, having said that, if you see the analogy here, that discovery phase is over, then APIs are already identified, and we need to be, orchestrated those APIs into a product. So the orchestration of APIs happen in this stage, right? Moving on to the third stage, which is growth. Here we make the product market fit, right? We have identified problem, solution, validation done, stakeholder identification done. We have created the revenue. I mean, we have identified the revenue streams, monetization policies of particular product and all. Now we need to make it market fit. Now, in when you are trying to make an API product market fit, you need to validate that end product with a small market launch. We can say MVP, right? And we need to interview multiple customers, and we need to reach out to customers with this prototype product. And based on their feedback, based on the your customer centricized policies, you need to create your growth strategy, right? Now, growth strategy plays a huge role in the API lifecycle. Every API, it evolves through product-led and community-led growth strategies, right? So there are normally two growth strategies. In product-led growth strategies, what happens that you build the product, you scale that up, right? And you go into multiple cycles. There are multiple versions of the product you launch. And in the community led, you reach out to the multiple communities. There are lot many D2C campaigns and all you make. And based on the feedback of the market, you rebuild your strategies, right? The fourth one is growth monitoring. Definitely, if you have built something and if you are sure that this product will be a successful one, then you need to monitor the growth. I mean, whether numbers are going up or not, what are the feedback, whether your developer are engaged with it or not, whether revenues are being generated or not. So this one thing is very important when you are launching an API product, right? Analogy is same. Uh, Whenever every successful API enters into growth stage, at this point, API needs awareness, where you need to reach out to multiple stakeholders, even your users or customers. They're also stakeholders in your entire product life cycle. So you need to increase your outreach to the market, right? And the fourth one is maturity. So when your product is ready, you scale up for adoption, right? At this stage, you need to identify the profitability, right? At this stage, you need to create something through which your customers will be able to onboard themselves to your product lifecycle, right? And once they are on board, you will have to service them with their queries and all. So this particular stage, in maturity stage, here comes the developer portal, which I'll be covering later on, right? Because developer portal is the showcase of your entire tech capabilities, and API being a technical product of every organization, the portal and maturity stage are very symbiotic in relation, right? The last one, it's the retirement stage, where APIs, it gets, every product has this particular stage when your product may get saturated. You just can't continue with the same version of the product, right? You need to upskill your product, and you also need to identify the strategy, or you need to build a strategy that at which particular point this saturation will come, right? There can be many competition happen. There are many other people, they have launched their product in the similar line. You need to create some moat around it. Also, at the same time, these APIs which you have already launched and which are probably a success in the market, uh, there are many feedback you may receive that some other competitors, they have launched a more better version, right? So in those scenarios, you need to retire your APIs, you need to create a new version. But before doing that, two things we need to keep in our mind. One is that we need to well inform our customers that the retirement time is coming for this particular product, and we are launching a new product. Until and unless you are having the future product roadmap, you just cannot retire it, right? And once this API goes for EOL, and based on the demand or trend in the market, right? It's very important to kill those APIs. The reason behind, if you don't keep it, I mean, if you just keep it, right, and you just launch another version of the product, and if those product APIs are still there, there are high propensity these APIs may turn into a shadow or zombie API. And I do believe shadow or zombie API is such a thing which in this particular conference many people will talk about, right? Maybe offline we can discuss about it. And this actually makes the API products, right? So, if I have to summarize it, right, it has a complete discovery. APIs are being monetized, and it has a revenue stream like any other product. It can be retired, deprecated, and new version can come. So, like any other product, right, it also has these, these stages. I hope my screen is visible because I just shifted to another version of the PPT. Uh, just to summarize it again, it has a complete discovery, build, growth, and it has a declining life cycle. It can be monetized. It can earn revenue for your organization like any other product. It also has a use cases, packaging and distribution, and it can be retired, deprecated. Right now, this topic, as I told you, it's very close to my heart because I myself, being a product manager for APIs for last 6 7 years in many large banks in India, and at the same time now I'm heading few product managers now on this API space. So what are the conventional product management if you see? Uh, so like any other conventional product management, in case of API also, it has a strategy, it has a vision. As a product manager, you need to create your strategy, you need to create your vision about your product, right? It also has a developer experience management where APIs API product manager has to own up the documentation, because the documentation is the actual product if you see in any API product management. So when we talk about that in any product, let's talk about a product called uh, banking product like deposit or account, where you can actually see, where you can actually experience the product, right? In case of API also, the document, that how you documented your API, the interfaces and all, that is the actual experience your customer have. So TX management is very important. Then design and develop and ensuring collaboration, right? I mean, in API is a thing which normally being used externally, right? So you need to build a collaboration, right? And the fourth one is the platform monetization, where we can foster the community, right? We need to build a community around the platform which you have built, and your platform is the product, I mean that API platform which you have, right? Now these are the conventional product management, but if you see the unconventional one, right, the first one is the developer advocacy, where the product manager has to be connected with the developer, has to be very agile in maintaining a relation with the developer, and need to understand what the developer wants. If you see in banking, we normally build financial product, but API is the only product which is a technical in nature, right? And the end user are not the CFOs or accountants of the world, right? It's normally the developer of those large organizations who are giving feedback to your actual customer. So having a developer advocacy is very important, right? The second one is that API design management, design thinking of APIs. Nowadays, we all know what design thinking is. Design thinking is the key differentiator for a product manager, right? I mean, how agile and how nimble with you are with your design thinking, that actually define that how much you are into product management. But in case of API, your design thinking about API is very important, right? The third one, developer relation. Definitely, you have to build relation with your developer, and you'll have to be very upfront with your in multiple forums and all. You will have to share what you can build, right? You just cannot keep your knowledge within yourself, right? You will have to be very, open about the, use cases, about the problem statements and all, right? The last one is the life cycle management, where we can plan for an evolution, right? So product manager, right from, I mean, if you go back to all those previous slides, those 5 stages of API product management, now product manager has to own up all these, stages, right? I mean, none of the stages where you can say that my product manager will not manage this part, right? So I mean, you will have to be on top of that. On very interesting line I just read a couple of days ago, that API product managers are the, I mean, the question was, I mean, what is the main role of API product manager? So that line said that API product managers are the people uh, to be blamed if anything goes wrong with the API. So API product managers' role are so crucial for your entire organization's API outlook, right? So this undimensional product management actually defines that how your product managers are agile about their product and all, right? Now the last slide or the last topic I'll be covering, which is the developer portal. It's a platform product, right? Now developer portal, we all know in case of developer portal, we have sandboxes, we have, staging environment where we can test APIs and all. But if you see, for last 2 3 years, the trend is people are doing so many new improvisation. They are building journeys, they are making digital onboarding processes and all on top of the dev portal, right? So nowadays dev portals, developer portals rather, are not only meant for your technical showcase, right? We just don't, flex our uh, technical muscles over portal, right? We do so many new things, right? For example, uh, if you see that what are the 6 main components of the portal today we are having. One is the open API product. So whenever we are building an API and we are identifying the use cases of the API, we are building a product on top of that, and we are hosting it in the portal, right? And there are multiple product catalogs, there are multiple use cases, there are standardized journeys. Sometimes we also open up new customization also, right? uh, the second one is the documentation. Documentation we already talked about a while ago, that documentation is the key, because whenever someone is asking for that, give me the API, you just don't give a URL, you actually give the entire documentation, or you ask him to download the documentation from your portal, right? So how interactive, how intuitive your documentation is, it's very important, right? And it's the only end product which is visible, so you'll have to make it very catchy, right? It has to be very crisp, that just by going through the document, we can visualize the entire API lifecycle, the entire stage of the APIs which we are offering him, right? Now third one is a seamless onboarding. In this space there are many organizations who are working. Thankfully in my organization we have started building one, or rather we have already launched 2 years ago, one digital onboarding process, where any API user, if they want to access our APIs both in the staging and production environment, they can onboard them through the developer portal, right? They can apply for any API, they can, get the API keys, credentials, and all, right? So their entire API development management is being done through our dev portal. So they can actually see the, stages, that he is in UAT, he is in staging, he is in, production environment. He can manage his keys. It's a self sign up and self onboarding process, and it requires no paperwork. Even he can, you know, he can negotiate over the commercial rates and all, right? The fourth one is supports analytics, very important, because if your developers are having any query about a API product, right, or about any particular API, in case of our industry, we have lot many contact centers, but those contact centers are not meant for supporting developers because the questions they will have are very uh, technical, right? So for those set of users, we need to have a portal where we can actually showcase and you can actually serve them with those analytics and all, right? The fifth one, developer tools, definitely Swagger's, RML, CLIs are already there, and these are being there for ages, but there are a lot many improvisations happening, right? And I mean, even in my in the organization where I work, where we have already integrated it with postman collections and all, right? The sixth one is the hyper personalization of API product. It is very important because nowadays, I mean, every customers, they want to feel, or they want something different, right? They want to be feel different. Now, those developers, when they're coming to a portal, sometimes they don't know which particular APIs to call. Now, based on their demography or based on their uh, previous data, if your portal can nudge them with a hyper personal experience and can offer them few APIs which might be of their, I mean, might be relevant to their business or their demand or need. That will be very useful, right? We have already gone live with this hyper personalized API product recommendation in our Axis Bank developer portal, right? Through which any user who is logged in, right, where based on the previous clicks and previous behavior, right, we are offering him API products, right? Now, these are the six common point. I mean, through which we are, commercializing APIs through our developer portal, and this was the last one. But one thing I would like to conclude here, that the amount of APIs we are having today, right, in multiple organizations, it's time that we start thinking APIs as a product, because we just can't keep on building APIs, because once we start building APIs, there are propensities that this API can be backfired, right? So build API once the use case is there. Build API when you have the entire product lifecycle. Otherwise, keep on adding endpoint and URLs will make no sense. And I do believe that in my fellow speakers who are there in this conference, they will also believe in that, because there are a lot many things we can see people are talking about the API productizations and all, right? Thanks for having me here. If you have any queries, I would happy to answer via email, LinkedIn. You can connect me over LinkedIn. There is a QR code here. And having said that, it's I'm just signing off from here. Thanks.